Hello, everyone. Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity here, and a special gift from my partner, Evie. Today, I'm going to be recording this scouting report and putting it out to the general public because I want people to see what we do at Peak Prosperity and how we roll. So, if you like context, if you like somebody doing your scouting for you to save you time, if you like having things make sense again, you're going to love Peak Prosperity. So, you're invited cordially to come and join us. Now, let's go to today's quick presentation, and it starts here. We had a comment. It's an interesting question from yesterday's piece where we were discussing the debt-to-GDP trap that the U.S. seems to be in, and I thought it deserved a fuller explanation, so here goes. John was asking, he said, I would love to see a detailed explanation of this claim, and he is referring here to this tweet by Ed Dowd, who will be on our upcoming Webinar 2 in the Decoding the Power series, which is the Prospering with Integrity series. So you're going to love that. Ed Dowd asking all the right questions, saying here, the dollar debt-based monetary system needs constant flow of credit created at an ever-increasing rate to prevent deflationary credit contraction. So that's a collapse. So is that true? And Zero Hedge had put out here a piece just noting that U.S. federal debt, this is just federal debt. We were discussing all debt, but just federal debt at $34 trillion now. 3 months ago, it was at $33 trillion. And 2 years ago, it was at $32 trillion. But 4 years ago, it was at $24 trillion. So it's this super fast rate of expansion, but it's not just federal debt. It's all debt in the system. And so, we have here, John is asking the question. He says, well, is this why the U.S. government won't stop borrowing, creating insane amounts of money, but is incapable of admitting why it believes it has to? Please let me know if this has been covered here previously. So the detailed explanation for this, John, it's quite complicated. So let's default to a simple real world piece of data instead. And it's this. This old chart. You see that? Do you see that little wiggle right there? This top part is total debt. This is total credit market debt in the Fed system, which is the Fred St. Louis Federal Reserve System. This is known as TCMDO, total credit market debt outstanding. So if you see that, let me get my drawing tool out here because you all know how I do like this. That little wiggle right there, that almost destroyed the entire Western financial system. Now, how did it do that? What happened? Well, there's really only one time in the entire 50 plus years of this data where credit went down for a period of time that was lengthy. I mean, not just like it didn't wiggle down for a quarter. I mean, this went down between 4Q of 2008. Here, let's zoom in a little on this. The fourth quarter of 2008 to the second quarter of 2010. So we have that's 1 quarter in 2008, 4 quarters in 2009, and 2 quarters in 2010. So what is that? 7. That's a long time. That's practically 2 years. And this is a pretty big deal. And so how big of a deal was this? Well, let me put this in context. This caused the Federal Reserve to freak out. Now, to be sure, there are a lot of things happening right there and then all at once in our complex system of banking. We got leverage, self-interested Wall Streeters. We got derivatives, all of that. But every single bit of that ecosystem, that complex ecosystem, derives its fuel from flows of new money. And that new money is created in the act of creating debt because we have a debt-based system where money and debt are two sides of the same whatever. I'd call it a coin, but coin might actually be something of real value. Debt and money. We have a debt-based fiat money system. Once you understand how that system works, which you can find, of course, in the crash course, which is in this book, The Crash Course behind me, or, fell to the ground, or on my online video series at Peak Prosperity, you need to understand how money is created in the system. If you do, you have a chance of resolving what's going on. If you don't, could be tricky. All right. So, I mean, that gets us back. If we go up here, this is what Ed Dowd is basically saying here, right? Saying, is this really going to be true that we're going to be seeing that this debt-based money system actually needs constant expansion of credit? Well, it does. And it's because when it finally contracts a little bit like we see here, the whole system basically threatens to collapse. So we're going to have to talk about that a little bit because this is the fun part. Now, what happened? What was the response here? All right, this is where it gets really interesting. So, and by the way, when I say we need new flows of money coming out of continued credit expansion, right? I mean that in the stocks versus flows kind of way. If you're familiar, there's a stock of something, there's a flow of something. This is from sort of logistics or manufacturing or economics too, stocks and flows, right? So in a complex system, all of the order and complexity of that complex system is due to the flow of energy across its system boundaries. Stop the flows, the system rapidly begins to simplify. So in an economic system, money is the energy and everything depends on its uninterrupted and continuous flows through that system. I mean, simplistically, think this through. If we all stopped paying all of our debts at the same time, we stopped spending our money at the same time, there would still be the same stock of money and debt in the system, but the flows would stop and the system would almost immediately begin to seize up due to the loss of those flows. Another analogy would be the sun and the earth. The sun's flows of energy, right? Those sustain the brilliant and beautiful complexity of life on this planet. And it's somewhat irrelevant how much stock of energy the sun actually has, except to whoever is still here in 5 billion years or so. And then it might matter a lot. But it's if the flow of the sun's output were to stop for even a short period of time, the impacts on the Earth's complex systems would be massive. They would begin to simplify very quickly if the sun was out for any length of time at all. But so that's how systems work. And again, I discuss complex systems in the crash course fairly extensively. Not my point here today. Let's get back to the debt chart above here. All right. So that little wiggle, which I've zoomed in on here, that little wiggle downwards, right? That actually almost killed the whole system. And what that little downward trajectory you see right there, for those 7 quarters, what that actually represents is the loss of creation of new money and therefore the loss of flows of new money into the system. And deprived of those flows, the entire Western system of financial entities and banking and everything, possibly the whole world, threatened to collapse.